News Patrol, and I am John Paul Austria, reporting. My team gathered information regarding to the different types of disasters and calamities that may happen all over the world. So first, let us define what is natural disaster. Natural disaster is a natural event such as flood, earthquake, or hurricane that may cause great damage and loss of life. There are 5 types of disaster: biological disaster, hydrological disaster, meteorological disaster, wildfire, and space disaster. So first, let us know more about biological disaster. Biological disaster is a natural disaster due to geological disturbances, often caused by shift in tectonic plates and seismic activity. This can be caused by a man-made too. So, there are 5 types of biological disaster. We have earthquake, avalanche, landslides, sinkholes, and volcanic eruption. So the first type of biological disaster is earthquake. Earthquake is a sudden shaking of ground caused by the passage of seismic waves through the earth cracks. Seismic waves are produced when some form of energy stored in earth crust and suddenly released. Usually when masses of rocks straining against one another suddenly fracture and slip. Earthquakes occur most often along geological faults. So earthquake can destroy the whole city and millions and thousands of people all over the world, or inside of the fault line. So, if you are here in this current situation, you must follow these simple steps for you to be safe. So, first, don't be panicked. Be calm. When you are experiencing the shaking of the floor, please do the drop, cover, and hold to prevent some falling objects fall to your head, because we need to protect our heads. And stay away from the furnitures and glass windows to prevent some minor injuries. Do not use elevator, might as well use stairs instead. And lastly, listen to the radio, news, or rescuers information for your next step. So Dave will explain the other different types of biological disaster. Dave, are you there?
Thanks, John Paul. So, the other types of geological disaster are avalanche and landslides. First, what is avalanche? Avalanche is an event that occurs when a cohesive slab of snow lying upon a weaker of snow fractures and slides down to steep slope. Avalanche are also called snow slide, which produces masses of snow, ice, rocks that fall rapidly to the mountainside. This kind of phenomenon happens because of heavy snowfall, layers of snow, and human activity. Avalanches are deadly. It can affect people by causing death or injury, property and transportation damage, utility and communication failures. The victims of avalanches are mostly skiers, snowboarders, snowmobile riders, or mountaineers. There are 11 countries with the most avalanches in the world, such as Iceland, Nepal, France, Austria, Slovakia, Afghanistan, Canada, Italy, United States, Argentina, and Peru. Here are the 6 preparedness that you will do if you encounter this phenomenon. First is get training on how to recognize hazardous conditions and locations to avoid. Second, Learn how to properly use safety equipment. Third, sign up for alerts on current avalanche dangers. Fourth, use proper equipment. These include helmets and materials to create pockets of air if dropped. Fifth, use the device to support rescue. And lastly, use a guide familiar with the area. Always have a buddy. Next is landslide. Landslide defined as the movement of a mass of rocks, mud flows and debris down a slope due to natural phenomenon or human activity. The occurrence of this phenomenon usually triggered by natural disaster, such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, heavy rainstorm, or cyclone. The impact of landslide can be extensive, including loss of life, destruction of infrastructure, damage to land, and loss of natural resources. According to World Health Organization, between 1998 to 2017, landslide affected an estimated 4.8 million people and caused 18,000 deaths worldwide. Here are the 6 preparedness that you will do if you encounter this phenomenon. First is listen for the unusual sound that may indicate moving debris. Second, do not construct buildings or houses near the landslide area. Third, stay out to the path of the rock slide or landslide. Fourth, avoid river valleys and low area. Fifth, listen to unusual changes and be alert. And lastly, listen to the news for update. For the next one, let's hear it for Renali.
These, the other types of geological disaster, sinkholes. When natural erosions or human mining makes the ground too weak to support the structures built on it, the ground can collapse and produce a sinkhole. Both natural phenomena and human activity can trigger sinkholes. Heavy rainfall, especially after a drought. Tropical storms contribute to the forming of a sinkhole, while man-made sinkholes can be prompted by heavy pumping of groundwater for agricultural protection, investigative drilling, and excavation. These are the things you need to do when there is a sinkhole. 1. Improve your knowledge about the emergency warning signals and alert notifications used in your community. Following on from this should check your property and its surrounding area for signs of a sinkhole forming. Go from an area larger than the obvious depression or hole. Number 3. Never play in a suspicious hole. It may be the top of a much deeper sinkhole. 4. Call in an inspective excavation company to handle questionable sinkhole. Other types is volcanic eruption. Happen when lava and gas are discharged from a volcanic vent. The most common consequences of this are population movements, as large numbers of people are often forced to flee the moving lava flow. Volcanic eruptions often cause temporary food shortages and volcanic ash landslides called lahar. Volcanoes can cause widespread destruction and consequent disaster in several ways. The effects include the volcanic eruption itself that may cause harmful explosion of the volcano or the fall of rock. These are the things you need to do before, during, after volcanic eruption. Watch news and listen to the radio for announcement. Prepare food, water, flashlights, and mask just in case. Wear masks because volcano eruption can release harmful chemicals such as ash and sulfur. As locate and evacuate when the authority says so. This is the type of geological disaster. Back to you, John Paul.
Thanks, Fernalyn. So, let's move on to the other type of disaster. Mary Joy, can you tell us more about hydrological disaster?
Yes, John Paul, hydrological disaster defined as extreme events associated with water occurrence, movement, and distribution. Among the causes of hydrological disasters are severe flooding due to heavy rainfalls, ocean waves coming on shore or such a storm surge, and the dams breaking. Please continue to the other type of hydrological disasters, Benedict.
Thank you, Mayor Joy. In Cameroon, a limnic eruption occurred in 1986, killing 2,000 people and wiping out the entire community. A limnic eruption is an incredibly rare and dangerous natural disaster. It happens when a lake sits near a pool of magma. Since the magma gives off carbon dioxide, it builds up underground over time. Eventually, a CO2 bubble bursts, creating a massive explosion. In the lake, when this happens, a carbon dioxide gases spread everywhere, and a tsunami-like waves pop out. If you were near a lake during a limnic eruption, how would you survive? Number 1. Smell. Before the lake erupt, pay attention to your nose. And if you smell like a rotten eggs, that means an eruption could happen soon. And the water if it's warmer than the usual. And number 2, don't breathe. When a lightning eruption occurs, hold your breath immediately. And number 3, drive away or move out fast. Anyone within 25-kilometer radius on the eruption will either hit by the tsunami or like a wave or suffocate from the carbon dioxide. And number 4, get to the higher ground. And number 5, call for help. And that's all for today. Thank you. Jasmine, take it away.
Okay, Benedict, this is the other types of hydrological disaster. Tsunami are giant waves caused by earthquakes or volcanic eruption under the sea. Out in the depths of the ocean, tsunami waves do not dramatically increase in height, but as the waves travels inland, they build up to higher and higher heights as the depth of the ocean decreases. The speed of tsunami waves depends on the ocean depth, rather than the distance from the source of the wave. Tsunami waves may travel as fast as jet planes over deep waters, only slowing down when reaching shallow water, while tsunamis are often referred to the tidal waves. So this is the example of preparedness. Well, tsunami hazard zone. Receive in the following warning. Stay out of the water and away from beaches and waterways. Get information from radio, television, and your mobile devices. If official asks you to evacuate more quickly to safe place, follow evacuation sign or go as higher or far in island. That's all, Benedict. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Imagine, you are there in that current situation. What will you do? Of course, you will think for your own safety first, right? So, the important is, you must always prepared and alert. So, let's move on to the other disaster, which is meteorological disaster. Kathleen, tell us more about that disaster.
Yes, John Paul. So here I'll explain to everyone what is meteorological disaster and its type. So what is meteorological disaster? Meteorological came from the word meteorology. Meteorology deals with the atmosphere and is phenomenon related to weather and climate. Meteorological disasters are caused by extreme weather conditions that affect the atmosphere in a negative manner and bring death and destruction to life and properties. Some examples of it are rain, snow, droughts, extreme heat, and many more. So here are the types of meteorological disasters. So the first one is cyclonic storms. Cyclonic storms can also be referred to as hurricane, tropical cyclones, and typhoons, depending on its origin. It forms over the ocean and moves towards the land really cause great destruction to life and its properties. The deadliest hurricane ever was the 1970 Paula cyclone. The deadliest unnamed hurricane is the Great Hurricane of 1780, and another one is the Hurricane Katrina, which devastated the Gulf Coast of the United States in 2000. Here are the disaster preparedness for cyclonic storms. First one, stay calm, stay indoors, and tune in for latest news and weather updates. Turn off main electrical switch and waterfall. Remain alert and be cautious. Stay away from glass windows. Next one is blizzards. Blizzards are severe winter storms characterized by heavy snows and strong winds. These storms that will last for several hours and cause great harm to the life and property. Blizzards are not only caused by falling snow, but it will also be the result of strong winds blowing away fallen snow on the ground. This is known as ground blizzard. The Great Blizzard of 1888 was one of the worst blizzards in the history. Tons of crops were destroyed in the United States of Asia. So for disaster preparedness for blizzards, here are the tips. Winterize your home by insulating using weather stripping and installing storm windows. Create an emergency kit that has enough supplies for 3 to 7 days. Wear several layers of loose-fitting, lightweight, and warm clothing. Stay dry. Change wet clothing to prevent a loss of vitamin. Listen to the radio and television for weather updates, and know your area's emergency plans and where warming centers will be.
Okay, Kathleen. So the next type here is hailstorm. What is hailstorm? Hailstorm are precipitation in the form of ice with the ice not melting before it hits the ground. Hailstorm usually measure between 0.2 inch or 5 millimeters and 6 inches in diameter. Particular damaging hailstorm hit Munich, Germany on July 13, 1984, causing about $2 billion in insurance claim. And here's the two examples of preparedness during hailstorm. Number 1 is, stay away from windows and glass doors. Be alert for signs of high windows or tornado precaution if necessary. And followed by ice storm. What is ice storm? Ice storm is a type of winter storm characterized by freezing rain. The U.S. National Weather Service defines an ice storm as a storm which results in accumulation of at least 0.25 inch of ice on exposed surfaces. The preparedness we can adapt here are the first, avoid driving. Even a small amount of freezing rain can make the road extremely slippery. Wait several hours after freezing rain and so that road maintenance crews have enough time to spread sand or salt on icy roads. And number 2, ice storm freezing rain accumulate on branches, power lines, and buildings. If you must go outside when a significant amount of ice has accumulated, pay attention to branches or wires that could break due to the weight of the ice and fall on you. So moving on, we have cold waves. Cold waves, known in some regions as a cold snap or cold spell, is a weather phenomenon that is distinguished by a cooling of the air, especially as used by the U.S. National Weather Service. A cold wave is a rapid fall in temperature within a 24-hour period requiring substantially increased protection to agriculture, industry, commerce, and social activities. The precise criterion for a cold wave is determined by the rate at which the temperature falls, and the minimum to which it falls. This minimum temperature is dependent on the geographical region and time of the year. The preparedness we can do under cold wave are, keep a fire extinguisher on hand and make sure that the household knows how to use it. Prepare for possible isolation in your home. Keep a stock of food and extra drinking water. Next is stay indoors as much as possible. Listen to the radio or television for weather reports and emergency information. Conserve fuel, if necessary, by temporarily closing off heat to some rooms. Eat to supply heat to the body and drink non-alcoholic beverages to avoid dehydration.
Thanks, Ramilson. Here is the type of meteorological hot weather. Heat waves is a rare and excessively hot weather in history of European in 2002. In 2009, because of summer heat, massive bushfire is more difficult in country of Victoria and Australia. While in Melbourne, they are experiencing a higher temperature in 3 days, and also some of their region areas. These bushfires was known as Black Saturday. Way back in 2010, Northern Hemisphere is also experiencing heat waves which caused of 2,000 people was died. Take note, always drink a water. Wear loose or light-colored clothes. Stay at home and avoid outdoors in the hottest day. Many people are experiencing a drought or dryness. Drought is a condition of a long period with no rain and low levels of rain. One of the most affected is the firemen. It's difficult for them to harvest because of lack water supply, and maybe the plants and animals will die. In 1997 to 2009, Australia led to a water supply crisis across much of the country, and they built plants for the first time. What we should do during drought or dryness: monitoring and forecasting, response planning and measures. Shane, you're next.
Yes, Leanne. And we have another meteorological disaster, which is thunderstorms. Thunderstorms is a violent, short-lived weather disturbance that is almost always associated with lightning, thunder, dense clouds, heavy rain or hail, and strong, gusty winds. My personal advice to prepare yourself from the disaster is to stay calm. Do not panic before, during, or even after the disaster. Moving on, in thunderstorms, we need warning signs, shelter, emergency precautions, water, safety, and first aid training. When inside, stay off corded phones and electrical equipment. Lightning can travel through electrical systems. We must protect ourselves and our appliances and electrical devices. Postpone outdoor activities if thunderstorms are likely to occur. Remember the phrase, "When thunder roars, go inside." Find the safe shelters. We also have tornadoes as a meteorological disaster. Tornadoes is a rapidly rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the earth. Tornado is also one of the destructive disasters because of its strong winds they contain and the flying debris they create. You can survive a tornado if you follow safety precautions. The 3 important tips to help you keep safe is: number 1, be prepared. Emergency kit is a must. Finding a safer place for you and your family. Number 2, stay aware of the weather. You can watch TV, you can scroll down to your Twitter. Lastly, know where to shelter. For added protection, get under something sturdy. Something sturdy like a hard table like that. You can go under that, and you have to find a safer place for you and your family, because tornadoes is no joke and it must be action easily. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Shay. So the next disaster is wildfire. Diana, please explain to us what is wildfire.
Wildfire is uncontrolled fire that burns grassland and forest. It is often in the wildland areas. Usually it is caused by lightning and humans from the campfire and cigarettes. Wildfire is too dangerous because of the potential increase for landslide and floods. It can affect our health because of the smoke that we take. There are also effects in climate such as heat waves, global warming, and El Nino. Notable cases of wildfire were the 1871 Peshtigo fire in US, which killed at least 1,700 people. A month ago, wildfire happened in Australia, which destroyed over 2,000 homes, and experts also estimate that over 1 billion animals have been killed since the fire began in September 2019.
Yes, Diana, thank you. Wildfires are controlled and planned or a wanted fire. It soon means started by itself. It occurs naturally more often in rural areas, forests, grassland, etc. Effect of the environment wildfire. Reducing the carbon emissions because of the wildfire. More trees and plants die. Timber acts the carbon, store giving it an important role of reducing carbon emissions. So it means we having the fire of forests the cost of a loss of timber resources. There are the things to keep in mind in wildfire preparedness. Number 1, provide a list of important contact to your out of area point person. Number 2, protect your documents. Make copies of important documents like birth certificate, driver license, passport, etc. So you need to do this to survive the disaster. That's just wildfire. Jump on.
Thanks, Ryan and Diana, for that information. So, let's move on to the last disaster, which is space disaster. Vito, take it away.
Jump on. So the last disaster is a space disaster. Space disaster is the disaster happens in the universe due to collapsing of two asteroids or through more heat of the sun, or some unknown bodies which came from space entered in Earth's atmosphere and caused disaster are termed as a space disaster. One of the space disaster is airburst. Airburst is essentially an explosion near the atmosphere. When meteors hit the Earth atmosphere, they often explode, creating these bursts that are sometimes even as characterized as fireballs. Before entering Earth's atmosphere, these larger meteors were originally asteroids and comets of a few to several tens of meters in diameter, contrasting with the much smaller and much more common shooting star. So the next space disaster is supernova. Supernova is the explosion of a star. It is the largest explosion that takes place in space. What causes supernova? Supernova happens when there is a change in the core or a center of a star. A change can occur in two different ways, with both resulting in a supernova. The first type of supernova happens in binary star systems. Binary stars are two stars that orbit the same point. One of the stars are carbon-oxygen white dwarf, steals matters from its companion star. Eventually, the white dwarf accumulates too much matter. Having too much matter causes the star to explode, resulting in a supernova. Second type of supernova occurs at the end of a single star's lifetime. As the star runs out of nuclear fuel, some of its mass flows into its core. Eventually, the core is so heavy that it cannot withstand its own gravitational force. The core collapses, which results in the giant explosion of a supernova. The Sun is a single star, but it does not have enough mass to become a supernova. So the other type will be explained by a person. Person, are you there?
Yes, Vito, I'm here. So the last type of space disaster is solar flare. Solar flare is a brief eruption of intense, high-energy radiation from the sun's surface associated with sunspots and causing electromagnetic disturbances on the Earth, as with radio frequency communications and power lines transmissions. What is solar flare? Solar flare is there was a sudden explosion of the radiation that takes a strong energy impact that coming from the sun, connecting on the sunspot that brought about the disorders of the electromagnetic in the world that affected the communication on radio, also the line of electric the sun's spin releases on it. That's all, thank you. Back to you, John Paul.
So, you've heard the different types of disaster that may happen all over the world. We hope you learn and listen to us. Always remember, buhay ay weather lang. I am John Paul Austria, now signing off. Have a great day everyone!